By 1943, the sky over Europe was the most dangerous place on Earth. Massive American and British bomber fleets were paying a devastating price, trying to destroy Hitler's war machine. The German answer was brutal efficiency. The Messerschmitt Bf 109, a deadly high-climbing interceptor, piloted by the most experienced aces in the world. The Allies were losing the air war. The bombers needed a long-range guardian, a fighter that could fly deeper, faster, and fight harder than anything Germany had. The answer came in the form of a beautiful, unlikely savior, the North American P-51 Mustang. The Mustang and the Messerschmitt, two fighters, two philosophies, locked in a duel that determined the fate of the Western Front. The Bf 109 was a testament to raw initial design genius. The P-51 was a miracle of late-war engineering and unstoppable American production. This is the story of the ultimate WWII fighter comparison. The strengths, the weaknesses, and the technological evolution that ultimately crushed the Luftwaffe and won the skies of Europe. The Messerschmitt Bf 109 was not just a fighter, it was the original template for the modern interceptor. Designed by Willy Messerschmitt in the mid-1930s, the 109 was small, light, and built for speed and climb. Its early version dominated the Spanish Civil War and the Battle of Britain. The German pilots, known for their discipline and aggressive tactics, relied on the 109's superior climbing rate and powerful Daimler-Benz inverted V12 engine. The Bf 109's core philosophy was simplicity and firepower. It had a narrow stance and light wings, making it challenging to handle on the ground, but a terror in the sky. Its centralized engine-mounted cannon, firing through the propeller hub, gave it devastating focused punch. However, the 109 had flaws. It was structurally limited, meaning it could not hold a dive as steeply as its Allied rivals without risking structural failure. More critically, its high wing loading limited its turning radius. As the war progressed, the design, though constantly upgraded, K-Series, G-Series, reached the limits of its potential. It was an old genius struggling against youthful innovation. The North American P-51 Mustang started as a failure. It was initially designed in 1940 for the British using an underpowered American Allison engine. Pilots loved its long range and handling but found it sluggish above 15,000 feet. The transformation came with one of the most brilliant engineering swaps in history: the installation of the British Rolls-Royce Merlin engine. The Merlin engine, optimized for high altitudes, unlocked the Mustang's true potential. Suddenly, the Mustang's revolutionary laminar flow wing, designed for maximum aerodynamic efficiency, coupled with the Merlin's power, created a plane that was faster than the 109 above 25,000 feet and possessed an incredible combat radius. The P-51 could fly from England to Berlin and back, escorting bombers the entire way. This range was the strategic key. When the Mustang finally arrived in force, carrying 6 wing-mounted machine guns, the German pilots faced a terrifying reality. The American bombers were no longer alone. When the two planes met, the combat was defined by their opposing strengths. The Bf 109, especially the late-war G and K models, was still the superior climber and could generally beat the Mustang in a vertical fight, thanks to its lighter weight and high-output engine boost. It was optimized for short, sharp interception attacks against bombers. The P-51 Mustang, however, was the master of the high-speed dive and the high-altitude cruise. In a prolonged fight, the Mustang's superior energy retention and lower weight-to-wing ratio gave it a handling advantage, especially in sustained turning maneuvers. But the most critical difference was endurance. The Bf 109 was a short-legged sprinter, designed to dash up, destroy a bomber, and glide back to base. The P-51 was a marathon runner. This meant that German pilots were always flying fuel-critical missions, while American pilots could fly aggressively, knowing they had fuel to spare for the long flight home. The Mustang didn't just fight the 109, it exhausted it. The introduction of the P-51 in large numbers in early 1944 was the decisive turning point of the air war. Before the Mustang, the bomber losses were unsustainable. German fighters would wait until the P-47 Thunderbolts and P-38 Lightnings reached their fuel limit and turned back. Then they would feast on the unprotected bombers. the P-51 changed the game entirely. Now, the American fighters stayed with the bombers all the way to the target and back. Suddenly, German pilots were forced to fly and fight under the constant, overwhelming threat of the Mustang. The Luftwaffe's strategy was shattered. They could no longer reliably target the bombers without first engaging in a desperate, often fatal dogfight with the Mustang escorts. By mid-1944, American pilots were not just defending the bombers, they were actively hunting German fighters wherever they could find them, instituting fighter sweeps that systematically wiped the Luftwaffe from the sky. This air superiority paved the way for D-Day. The Allied invasion succeeded in large part because the Luftwaffe was no longer a major threat over the beaches and supply lines. By late 1944, the Bf 109, despite its impressive upgrades, was facing obsolescence against the sheer numbers and performance of the P-51. The last-ditch German efforts involved arming the 109 with heavier cannons and rockets to try and destroy the bombers quickly, often sacrificing air-to-air maneuverability in the process. They were desperate interceptors, piloted by increasingly inexperienced young men, often facing Mustang pilots who were already highly decorated combat veterans. The final irony of the duel was the advent of jet technology. The German Messerschmitt Me 262 jet fighter was the true successor to the Bf 109, a plane that the Mustang could not match in raw speed. However, the Allies learned to defeat the Me 262 not in the air, but on the ground, destroying them during takeoff and landing. The P-51 Mustang, though prop-driven, had bought the Allies enough time to contain the jet threat and complete the destruction of German air power. The legacy of the P-51 and the Bf 109 defines the ultimate contest between original genius and superior development. The Bf 109 served longer than any other fighter, flying from the 1930s well into the 1950s in various nations. It was the original benchmark, setting the standard for speed and climb. The P-51 Mustang, however, was the decisive weapon. It proved that integrating the best technology from two nations, the American airframe and the British engine, could create a machine greater than the sum of its parts. It was the aircraft that not only defended the bombers but also destroyed the Luftwaffe's ability to resist. The duel between these two icons determined that the Allies would control the skies, a prerequisite for victory on the ground. The P-51 Mustang remains the symbol of American industrial might and combat effectiveness, the long-legged hero that flew deep into German territory and changed the course of history.